A basic how-to. It is not an in-depth look at all the nuances of self-publishing. If I did that, you would never leave and you would never see your families again. So this is very basic, very starter-friendly, hopefully. Just to give you a little bit of background if you don't know, I'm Jeanette Murray, that's me. I write romance novels for Penguin Random House and Harlequin, and I also self-publish as well. So I have a little bit of knowledge about the background of publishing in general, writing books, completing books, self-publishing, and all of those nuances. I'm not a professional, but that is kind of where I'm coming from. So I do this for a living. This isn't really a hobby for me. This is my main source of income. So here are our goals today. We're going to talk about why you might self-publish, how, which is the actual mechanics of it, how much, and that's going to refer to both how much it might cost you to do it and how much you might receive in return, when, which would be the timeline of events while you're doing this process, things to be aware of, and what's next after that book is actually out there for the world. So what good presentation would not come with a disclaimer. So just so you know, again, I am not an expert. I have done this a couple times myself, but I am no way, shape, or form a professional at self-publishing. I just write for a living. I am also coming at this as a business and not so much as a hobby. So consider the source, and that's me. And keep that in mind as you are listening to the following slides. If something does not sound right for you, that doesn't mean that you're wrong or that I'm wrong. It just means it's not right for you, and that's okay. So that's my disclaimer. Not a professional. I'm not a, consult your own lawyers, that sort of thing. Okay, so why might somebody self-publish instead of going the traditional publishing route? It's faster, by far. A lot of times I think the average lead time for a book in traditional publishing is about 15 months from the day you sign that contract to when you see it on the shelf. That's a lot of time to be hanging out there. And if you're a fast writer, like I am, I usually do about 3 to 4 books a year. That's a long time to wait when I could be doing other things and making money. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. And so you have to decide for yourself if that is a goal for you or not. Control. The minute you sign that contract with the publishing house, you are handing them control over almost everything. You don't really get a say. They might ask your opinion, but at the end of the day, they have taken control over the cover, what that looks like, the title, a great deal of the content and things like that are inside. So you're handing over the control and giving them a lot of power. Some people want that. They want to just brush their hands off and say, you do the rest. Some people don't. They want to be able to control every little aspect of their this book that they have spent so much time working on. So that's something to consider. Again, it's a personal decision on that one. Maybe this is the only thing that you're doing. You wanted to do one book for your family, and you just want to know how do I just get a book in my hands? And we will cover that. Or you know that this is the only thing that you're going to do, and it's a supplement to a business. You train horses for a living, and you wrote a simple how-to, and you just want to put it out there, and this is the only thing that you're ever going to do. To kind of go along with your business. So this is a really good way of doing that as well. Maybe it's a niche market. You know that publishers probably not going to be interested because they're not going to reach it. Publishers are businesses. They play the numbers game. And that's the full stop. They're not going to publish a book they think they can only sell 300 copies of. They just won't. But to you, 300 copies might be very awesome. And that's great. And so that might be an option for you. Or you just want to because it sounds fun. And there is no wrong reason. There is no wrong reason to ever self-publish. So those are some options for you as to why you might self-publish. But whatever your reason is, it's good. So we're going to get into the mechanics now, and some of this is going to be difficult for me to explain. I've tried to include some screen grabs as well, but hopefully you guys can follow along. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to start with that book that is done. Beginning, chapter 1, all the way to the end, literally the end. Now that you have that, you need to edit that book. Do not skip this, please, 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 do not skip this. Especially if you were hoping to make money off of this and not just hand it to Nana as a Christmas gift. If you want to have readers find this around the world, and they will, you want to have it polished. It needs to look right. There are several different kinds of edits. There's the beta, which is actually less of an edit and more of a feedback round. That's where you're going to hand it to somebody, maybe fellow writers, friends, family, and you say, just tell me what you think. Pretend that you pulled this book off of the shelf in the library and you read it. Did you like it? Did you not? Did you find a huge plot hole that I completely missed because I was too close to the source? Did you hate this character that I thought people would love? Did you not sympathize with somebody I hoped you would sympathize with? Those are the things that you want. And it's not for them to break down and say, well, here's where I think you went wrong. You just want, here's what I thought. That's a beta. And then you can make some changes from there. There's developmental edits, which sounds very much like a beta, but it's a little bit more in depth. That's where you're going to focus on those main plot points. Again, they're going to find the plot holes. They're going to find those main things like, you know that you set this in the summer, but the event that you set it around is actually a winter event, and that's a little concerning. Like, you might want to know that they don't, snowboard in Florida in August, so you might want to fix that. Those are the big things. Characters that don't sound right. Plots that kind of peter off. Middles that sag. Middles are a hard one for a lot of writers. So that's where they're going to take care of those larger areas where you might have a lot of cutting and adding. Line edits are going to be a little bit more nitpicky. Those are going to be things like continuity. Did she start with blue eyes and now she has green at the end? Did she kick her shoes off when she walked in the door and 5 minutes later on the couch while they're talking, she kicks her shoes off again? Littler things that are still going to make a reader go, that's not right, but are not overarching huge plot points that might require an entire chapter rewrite to fix. And then you have the galley edits, and those are going to be, the book's done. You're like, I'm done. I'm positive there's nothing wrong with this book. This book is perfection in paper form. But you're going to find that you missed a comma, or there's 2 spaces instead of 1. Or you have 1, quotation instead of where it should be 2. Those teeny tiny things that are almost impossible for you to see sometimes because you've read the sentence so many times. You know what it should say. You know what it says in your head, but it's not actually right on paper. Those little tiny things. It should not change anything about the dynamic of the book at all. It's just typos, spelling, last minute little things. Now, different editors might call these different things, but those are the big, those are the names that I know them by, and a lot of editors will call them that, and publishing houses will call them that. But those are your basics. So beta is something you do before you even get to the editor. The developmental is going to be those huge plot points. The line is like the continuity and the smaller grammar and the sentence structure that doesn't make sense. And then the galley is the little teeny tiny typos. So those are kind of your 3 big ones that you're going to look at after the beta. You can supplement with friends and fellow writers, especially for those developmental and beta sections. You may or may not want to pay for those because, as you see, this can or cannot be as expensive as you want it to, so that's an option. You can find editors online or in person. There's a thing called K-boards, which is the Kindle forums, essentially. If you go online, you can just Google K-boards. There are writers there who are doing exactly what you guys would be doing, self-publishing, and so they are there to share knowledge. It's the internet, so you always have to look out for people who are talking and know nothing about what they're talking about, but weed through, you can find people who are just starting out editing and are charging half the price that a normal editor would, or are running specials. They'll give you places to look. I think Fiverr is one that might have an option for you as well. It's like a service offering center, and so you can just kind of look on there, and editors might be offering their services as well on there. Typically, when you are working with an editor, they will ask you to pay per word. And then if you are working with an editor who has references, check with them. Go to that author's website, send them an email. Did you work with Susan because she used you as a reference for, her past work? How was she? Was she timely getting back to you? Did she charge what she said she was going to charge? Do you feel like she did a good job? And then go just pick one of those books at random and read it online, or at least read, if nothing else, pick all of their books and read like a little preview. Are you seeing anything wrong with, usually you can get up through chapter 1 in a preview in like an Amazon book. Are you seeing big mistakes where you're going, oh my God, how did they miss that? It's probably not the editor you want. So those are some things to think about with editing. So formatting. So your book has been edited. You are sure that it is typo-free and it is its most beautiful self in Word form. Now you have to format the ebooks. You can't just give them a Word document and go, here you go, have fun, Amazon. So this can be as simple or as complex as you want. This is something I actually do myself. I DIY this whole thing. So all of the places will take a PDF. You can make that as easy as you want to. You can literally just save your Word document as a PDF and then upload that. Now, will that be like amazingly beautiful? Depending on how creative you are with Word, it might be. It might look lovely. I am not great at making sure that sometimes I'm like, how did that column move 5 inches just because I hit the space bar? I don't understand what just happened. Word is a mystery to me sometimes. So I use a program called Vellum, and I'm going to show you guys a slide in the next section. But again, this is one of those things that it can be hired out, and unlike the editors that charge per word, they will usually just give you a flat fee. So it's something that you send it to them, they send you the file back that you need, and you're done. So the Vellum, which unfortunately last I saw was only for Macs, but I'm not 100% sure if they have changed that. This is what it would look like. So I have my Word document, I upload it into the program Vellum, it's V-E-L-L-U-M, and so it literally is going to show me on here, this is what I'm seeing. This is, chapter 8. It gives me my, up at the left-hand side, so I can check all of my chapter headings. You will see my actual book in the middle, and then this is going to literally show you the entire way through what is it going to look like on every device possible. And I can change this. Right now I had it set for iBooks and iPad. I can change it to make it look like a Kindle and all the different versions of Kindle. So I know at all times, like I'm constantly checking myself, okay, if my reader's using a Nook, what does it look like now? Okay, I'm good with that. If my reader is using, their phone, their iPhone, what does it look like now? Okay, I'm good with that. There are several different styles, but essentially it is like a plug in and go. I have never used a program so easy. It is truly easy. I believe I paid $200 for this program one time, but if a formatter is charging you $50 per book, do the math. Is this the only book you're ever going to do? Just pay the $50 and be done, and don't even worry about it. Are you going to be doing this as a career and you're hoping to do 5+ books? Well, you just paid yourself back and saving those fees. The other thing to think about for me, doing it myself, is that I save money in that every time I have a new book release, I go back and edit my old books. I edit my, in the front you'll often see things like other books by this author. I always want that updated in every book possible. And in self-publishing, I have that option. I don't have that option in traditional published books. Like, it's done, and they're not going to change it for me because I have one more book. So I can go in and add those every single time I have a release. Maybe I want to add a new excerpt from a book that's coming out, or I want to change up my backlinks. So those are all options that I can do myself because I format them. I would have to go back and pay a formatter every single time I wanted to change one little thing. So that doesn't really make sense for me. But my books are not static because this is a business for me. Like I said, I'm constantly churning out new books. So formatting them myself makes that possible for me to go back and make those teeny tiny little changes and not have to pay somebody $10 to go back and change my file again every time I want to add something. Or a reader's like, there's a really terrible typo on page 92. Because there's always going to be a terrible typo on page 92, because no matter what you do, there will always be a typo somewhere in your book. I promise you that. I can just go change it. 5 minutes and done. So that's another option. So covers. So we have the internal book done. What are they going to see before they ever get there? That is going to be your cover. Now a cover for an ebook is just a 2D photo. It's just a 2D photo, just a little rectangle. You are going to upload that it's as if you were, uploading an attachment to an email, but we'll get back to that later. You need a good cover if this is something that you want to make money off of. Again, if you are just putting this out so that Nana can see online, don't need to worry about that as much, but you probably want a good cover. This is the first thing that your readers are going to see that will draw them in. They do judge books by their cover, straight up. It will happen. They will judge a book by its cover. Do you need to pay thousands of dollars so that you can compete with, publishing books? No, absolutely not. But you do need to make sure that it looks good. And it's not like, well, my child drew it, unless the whole point of the book is that your child drew everything. And that's a different story entirely. You want to make sure that it looks good. Now think about when you're scrolling on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com and you're looking for books. The first thing you see, it looks about this big, right? You want it to be clear from there. You want it to be clear from there, as well as once you click in and you're like, oh, that's interesting, then you have that cover and it's more obvious. So you can't clutter it with a whole bunch of things. You don't want the type to be tiny. I always want my name to be the biggest font on there, and not just because I'm narcissistic. I might be, but that's not the point. The point is that I am the brand and I am allegedly the most important thing about that book. So they need to be able to see my name on the cover, even if it's in a thumbnail in a row with 6 other books. They need to know it's mine. And then the title, so that's something to think about. Don't pick super scrolly pretty font that's adorable, but you can't read it once you minimize it down. Don't pick a cover image that has 4,000 things going on. No one will be able to see what you're doing. It's gonna clutter everything. You can do this yourself if you have graphic skills. I do not. I have the word skills. I do not have the image skills. I hire that out every time. Graphic artists who do covers on the regular. Now you're going to find graphic artists who are like, I can make a cover, but they have no idea what they're doing. They're just, they make art, but they don't understand the dimensions. They don't know the resolution. They don't know what makes a good cover. They're just like, well, this is pretty. It might be pretty, but it's terrible for your book. That doesn't work. It's a marketing tool. It's not something just to be pretty. I mean, it could be pretty, but that's not always the truth. So you might want to consider that. You might want to, instead of going with your friend who's a graphic artist who will do it for $7 and a hug, you might want to find an actual graphic artist who does covers on the regular. And again, these are all over the place. You want to look for Fiverr, or you want to just Google cover artists, freelance, and you'll find a ton. Go and look at their covers. You can see them on Amazon. Shrink them down. What do they look like compared to other covers? Do they make sense? How are those books selling? And sometimes that's the cover artist's fault, and sometimes it's not. But you can tell and be like, oh, it's a hot mess. Extras. So usually it's a flat fee. They'll say, okay, I'll do this for, I'm gonna make up a number, $100. If you are asking for a lot of extras, like a font that they do not currently carry, or a cover image that is very difficult for them to find, they might charge you a little extra for that. So keep that in mind. If you have the money to blow, you're like, that's fine, I'm a millionaire, I don't care. Go for it. If not, you might want to simplify down a little bit. But the cover artist should work with you. They should not be charging you like a lawyer. They should not say every time, I need money up front, and every time I email you back, I'm taking, $7.50 because my, rate is, $750 an hour. That's not okay. You just want to be able to talk to them, tell them what you want, get the first cover back, say, I like this, can we move this? And then it's a flat fee. So keep that in mind as well. Do not get taken by somebody who says, we do this and we charge you like lawyers. No, they do not. Not the good ones. Double and triple check your resolution. Resolution is going to make sure that it will be accepted, because the places that you're uploading will check the resolution for you. They don't want blurry stuff on their website any more than you do. And if you get a blurry resolution and they have no idea how to fix it because you asked your Uncle Bob, who likes to mess around with, Photoshop, you just wasted time. So triple check your resolution, make sure it looks good. And again, do not DIY if you don't have the skills. That's just my personal preference. This is something that it's a flat fee. It's easy to pay it once and just be done with it. So that's my theory on that. By the way, if you guys have questions at any point, you can totally raise your hand and throw them out there. I will stop and pause, and I have no problem with that. Okay, so we have a cover. We have the interior done, which is polished and every word is perfect and it looks lovely. So we have our file for our cover, our JPEG, and we have our file, PDF, or whatever from Vellum or whatever other source that you used to format your book. So we have two separate files. How do we get them somewhere? We have to upload them. Now, Amazon is your number one. If you have no idea where else to go, start with Amazon. That is where you're going to find the most. It is, nobody likes a monopoly except for the monopoly guy. But the fact is that Amazon is 2/3 of my sales. It's 2/3 of basically everybody's sales that I know who does this for a living. Amazon is where you start, always. You are going to create a KDP account, that is Kindle Direct Publishing. And I believe the website is literally just kdp.amazon.com. You can link it to your regular Amazon account, so it'll already have a lot of your information in there. That's what I did. You can create a brand new KDP account that has nothing to do with it. Use a pen name so it's completely separate. That's totally up to you. You are going to fill out a lot of forms to start. It is going to include tax information, because if you're making money back off of this, they have to provide you with a 1099 at the end of the year or the beginning of the new year. It's also going to want banking information for you, because they will direct deposit your money for you. It is safe. I have never had a single problem with any of my vendors losing my information or anything like that. But I do have a completely separate account. I will tell you that. If you are hoping to make this a business, or even just make a couple $100 a year, I would highly recommend you open a separate checking account for your writing and just treat it like a business, and only writing income comes into there. And in the event, I mean, some people are very, sketchy, they're freaked out about, giving out their banking information. It's basically an empty account at that point. So, if something happens, they're getting your $5 startup. Whoops. So that's what I would do. That's what I did do. I did start a brand new account for myself when I began this journey. So every month I get a deposit in there from my different vendors. Then you're going to create a new Kindle book, and I have photos on here after this. You're going to fill out all the forms. It's going to ask you for everything, like your author name and the name of the book and the description of the book and all of that. You're going to pick the prices, and then it's going to go to them to approve. Now, Kindle scans every single book with a bot to make sure, A, it's not a book that they already have on there, because they have, they want to make sure that nobody is just taking books and repurposing them for their own selves, pirating, basically, books. They want to make sure that there's nothing outside of their terms and services, which would include, like the worst of the worst kind of stuff. And then they want to make sure that your book is not a complete hot mess, which means like 4,000 typos, nothing is spelled right. That's probably not the issue, especially if you've hired an editor, but you'd be shocked at what you will see on Amazon sometimes, what gets through the filter. So if they're still catching the worst of the worst, then there's still a lot getting through. You can track sales live, and they're usually within a 1 or 2 hour delay. So if I got your book right now at 10 a.m., then by like 11 or 12, you would be able to see like one sale right then. So this is going to be a little small. So this is what it looks like when I log into my Kindle Direct Publishing every single day. So Bookshelf is where we start, and obviously I can't get all of it, but you scroll down and you would see all the books that I have up here. So Reports is where you can click on there and you will see what your sales look like. You can do today, you can do the month up to date, you can do the past month, you can do the past 6 months, you can pick, since the book began. You can have all your books, you can, make it so that you can only see one book at a time, so you can just see their progress. Community, I believe, is where it's going to take you to K-boards. I'm not 100% sure, I've never actually clicked on Community, but I think so. And then KDP Select is something that Kindle has, obviously, by themselves. KDP Select is something that I am not in, because I came at this from a different perspective, which means that I was already published at this point, and all of my books are on all the platforms already from my publishers. KDP Select is when you are only in Kindle, and they give you a couple of perks for doing that. You are exclusive with Kindle. They give you like so many days a month that you can put your book for free. You get bumped in the ratings. They might pick your book to be selected for advertisements that they send out. If you are first starting out and you're like, I really only want to do one thing right now, I can't handle having a lot of different vendors, I just want to pick the one, I would pick Amazon, and I would probably put it in Select. Now you have to be in Select for 3 months. They ask again that you are, so it's 3 months at a time. You can opt out and say, I don't want to do this anymore, like after those 3 months, or you can roll it over and keep doing it for 3-month increments. You cannot have your book anywhere else for sale, so you can't say after a month, well, this is fun, but I really, my Nana has a Nook and she really wants the book, so I'm going to put it on Barnes & Noble. They will take your book down and they will blackball you, so don't do that. But again, if you are just putting this out there and you want to try something for the first time, Select might be a really good option for you. You just can't put it on anywhere else, so keep that in mind.
If you have one on Select and you have a second one, if that one's not under Select, can it go other places?
Yes, absolutely.
So
it's just
only the book.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not you as an author total. It is book by book. And some people will do that. They will put, again, because Select gives them a couple of more options within Amazon, and Amazon is a juggernaut when it comes to publishing and self-publishing and book sales. Sometimes they will try that. They will write like a really short, small series, and they will put that teeny tiny, like trilogy of shorts in KDP Select, because they find like they're going to find more readers that way on Amazon. But the rest of their books are large, at large, and so this is like a KDP, like a Kindle, special, and then the rest of their books are just out for the world. It's a marketing tool. It's an option. It is not right for everybody. I will never be able to be in KDP Select because I I came into self-publishing with readers on every device. I can't start, just saying, sorry, gotcha, I feel like being in select. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, but it is an option. So if you are starting a brand new book, obviously your book section would be blank. You would be clicking on the Kindle books, or so the Kindle ebooks, create a new title. Let's see what I can't remember what I put up here. Okay, so then it would bring you up to this. It is literally just 3 sections of forms. It's going to know what language you are in, your book title, who are the authors, the description, which would be like that back cover copy, BCC or blurb, that you would normally see on the back of a book. That's going to be on there. Any description, you will then, it'll be done. You'll move on to the next section, the content, which is where you will literally just upload your book file and your cover file. And they will, do a quick scan to make sure it looks okay and it's formatted properly and it's not going to, fall off the edge of the Kindle if you are reading it. And then you're going to go to ebook pricing. I think I might have that one. Okay, so ebook pricing is something that you'll have to think about because you set your own price. And it can be anything from 99 cents and up. Nowhere that I know will let you set it lower than 99 cents unless you were in like KDP Select free. So 99 cents is kind of that like bargain basement, like there's no going lower than this price. So as you can see, I have set mine at $4.99. The royalty fee structure is 35% if you are, okay, so from $4.99 or from $2.99 and up, you make 70% off of each book, off the cover price. So it's like, for every book that I sell at $4.99, I make like $3.50, I think is what average. It's something close to that. If you price your book at 99 cents to $2.98, you make 35%. And that's pretty standard. I think all the vendors do the same thing, essentially. So keep that in mind. Some people say, well, if I price my book at 99 cents, more people might want to buy it. But how many more people have to buy it to make up for the fact that you are selling it at, you're only making 30 cents per book rather than, making $1.20 per book if you priced it at $2.99. It takes longer for you to add it up. Now maybe that's your goal and you just want as many people to buy it as possible. So pricing becomes a little bit of a strategy game. But if you're first starting out, my suggestion would be just pick the price you think is right. Think about, how long your book is. Think about what are other books in your genre selling for, and price that way. I wouldn't mess with it too much. Yeah.
So if you get $3.45 per book, like how often do you see direct deposits? Because I can't imagine they're sending you, one for each book.
But I will cover that here. That is in the that's in the next section. So Amazon, unlike, well, I don't think the others do this, but I haven't checked recently. So Amazon has, a million different versions that are foreign. So they've got, Amazon Germany, Amazon UK, Amazon France, Amazon Germany, Italy and China, and Japan. So they have all of these, and they're going to give you the option to put your book on those websites. Now, no, it's not going to translate your book into Japanese for you. You can have that done if you would like to, but I have not done that, so I have no idea. But what it will do is it will give you the option to opt in. You do not have to do that. If you're like, I don't want somebody from the UK buying my book, I'm not sure why that would bother you, but if it does, that's totally fine. It's up to you. You can opt out of those. I opt in. Now, the royalty rates are going to be different for some of these countries because of a lot of different options, a lot of different reasons. But it will calculate your price into whatever it would be in that currency currently. Now that's obviously going to be an ever-changing thing. So if you log in 3 weeks later, the pound might have changed a little bit, and so your price would look a little different. That's okay. So you will also get, you'll sometimes see deposits from, Amazon.de or Amazon.uk instead of just Amazon.com. So yeah.
You have to pay taxes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Foreign taxes.
Well, because it's technically funneling through Amazon.
Oh, okay. So
you
it's
don't know. So you're not paying foreign taxes.
Okay, that's not some question.
Correct. No, that's a good question. Sorry, I didn't quite understand what you
I
meant.
should have said foreign taxes.
Correct. Yeah. No, I am not paying. Now, sometimes I literally received a $10.99 for 12 cents before from maybe one book that I sold in India. One. I'm not paying taxes on that 12 cents separately. No, but it all comes through Amazon funnel, and so I get 1099s from Amazon, and so I just pay the one tax for
US tax.
exactly U.S. taxes, because I don't have a business hub set up through those. It's just using the website. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on pricing and how that would work? So my main thing would be, especially if you're just starting out and this is your first book, pick the price that works for you and just keep it there for right now. A lot of people will mess around with their prices a lot, and then you have no idea what's working. And so my suggestion is look at what other books are selling. If you're writing a how-to novel on, I don't know, gardening, look at other gardening books, kind of compare the lengths that you are looking at, and then pick a price and kind of stick with it for a little bit, at least a month or so, see what happens. I haven't changed my price. Some of these, one of these books has been out there for a year and it has not changed. I don't need to, so I just don't worry about it. Okay, so there's obviously other places besides Amazon, though Amazon would like you to forget that. I've got Apple, iBooks, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, and there's probably more that I don't remember off the top of my head, but these are the other three that I really push to. I do not like dealing with all of these interfaces. Amazon is very simple to me. These are not. And also, side note, if you do not have a Mac, you cannot upload to iBooks. You have to do it from a Mac for some reason. Why? I don't know, because they hate PCs. But, so that's another thing, you can't even do it if you don't have a Mac. So I use a third-party site called Draft to Digital. And it is a very similar process as the KDP Amazon. You're going to go in, you're going to create that account, you're going to upload your book. It's as simple as attaching something to an email. It's the same process. It's going to say, put your cover here, put your book here, and then it's done. And it will send your book out to whoever you want. Now, it will also send it out to Amazon, but because Amazon is so simple, I just do that myself. So I just have to upload one time to one place, and it will send it to those places, and it will send it to others as well. These are the main three that I care about the most. So what are the benefits of going to a third-party uploading site? Do it one time, and you're done. You have a single place to fix issues. If you find that typo on page 92, you're not having to go and pull your book off of 92 different vendors. It's one. There is only one paycheck to track and work out because Draft to Digital will send me a deposit, not all these little places combined. It's just they combine it into one check each month. And again, like I said, you need a third party to upload to iBooks if you do not have a Mac. You can't even do it. So the cons. Draft to Digital will skim a little off the top because obviously they are providing you a service, and so it is not much. I think it's like 5%, something like that. To me it's worth it to not have to mess around with it. And again, if you don't have a Mac, you can't even worry about iBooks anyway. You can pay somebody to do it for you. But again, you get into that theory of if you need to pull something down to put it back up again, you have to go to that same person and pay them again and pay them again and pay them again. It's not enough that I'm concerned about it. It is enough that because I can do Amazon myself, I do Amazon myself. And they are my biggest seller. Why would I give them more of my biggest seller than I don't have to? So I don't. Draft to Digital will update your sales once a day. So every morning I can check and see what I sold the day before. Amazon, like I said, will update hourly, essentially. You'll see that refresh. So it's still pretty close to, live. I mean, I can't check my numbers with my publisher that quickly. It's still nice to kind of see what's happening. If you've run a sale or if you've put an ad out there, you can see what the day before did, and you kind of know, was that an effective one or was it not? So that's really amazing feedback to get.
So the percentage that's coming off the top is dependent on how many of those formats you're using?
No, it's just a flat fee. So
it wouldn't matter if you use
you can use it for 90 of them, or you can use it. It's just going to literally take like that 5% off of whatever you've sold,
Gotcha.
numbers wise. Okay, so this is what Draft to Digital would look like if you sign in. Obviously, you've got my books again. If you want to put in a new book, you literally click Add New Book, and you fill out the form. Author name, title of the book, book description. Same thing as always. You're going to pick where you're sending it to, and as you can see, I sent mine to. It's going to show you over here where they're going: Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Kobo. You can click My Reports once a day. Like I said, it will show you how many you have sold this month so far, and it'll just update that. It will show you last month, and then it will show you books sold overall. And again, Draft to Digital, you're also going to be filling out that form so they can send you a 1099. So you're going to fill out the tax information, and you are going to put in your information for direct deposit. So again, you know, it's one more place that your information is gonna be at, that bank information, so just get a different account, makes it easier. Any questions on draft to digital? It's pretty simplistic, I think. Okay. Both KDP and draft to digital pay monthly, and the first payout will not come for a couple months, so if you upload your book in, I don't know, July, you probably are not going to see until, I think October would be your first, so I think it's 3 months later is that first check that's gonna come for your sales from July. But you will see a pay every month. Now, draft to digital, they're not, like I said, gonna send you 3 different paychecks if you are sending, using them for 3 different venues. They're just gonna send you the one. Amazon is going to send you as many as you have in all of those different forms. So some months I have 12 deposits from Amazon. It's Amazon.com, and UK, and then D, and then IL, and then JP, and so something, for like 12 cents or, $1.29 or whatever the current market rate is for the pound or the, yen or whatever it is in that area. But you do get paid every single month, and traditional publishers do not pay every month. They pay every 6 months. So that is something amazing that has come into my life, is getting money every month instead of waiting for 6 months and hoarding and then getting a big check or not a big check because you never know because you can't track your sales, and then either being like, yay, or crap. They both give you the option to do pre-orders as well, which is kind of nice if you are like me and this is something that you're doing on the regular. I upload, like I said, directly to KDP because I can, it's easy, and I don't want draft to digital taking a small, teeny tiny chunk out of my largest vendor possible. So that's why I go directly there. I get my full royalties from Amazon. Let's see here. Okay, so print. The biggest expense that you are going to be using throughout this whole process will be editing, and that's already done. Yay! So I use CreateSpace, which is a website that will print the books. They have a partnership with Amazon, and so once you have gone through and created your book, you can connect it to the page on Amazon where you've already uploaded your digital copy. So that, instead of just the ebook, when you log in and you see the book, it will give you the option to buy it in ebook or print on Amazon, which is kind of nice. I have not done this for I don't sell enough print books to really worry about this. So my number one is always going to get the ebook first. That's where I make the most money. That's where I sell the most copies. That's what my focus is. And then when I have time, I will go back and add the print book. That is never really a concern for me, let's be honest. If this is something where you're like, I really just want to get a couple of books to hold in my hand, this is where you're going to be at. So to format for CreateSpace, because you already have that perfect, every word, every sentence, every punctuation mark is in the right spot, file done. You are going to Google format for CreateSpace, and it's going to show you how to format in Word. Again, it's a long process. It's going to show you the columns, but I'm telling you, there are like several YouTube videos, and they make it very easy. Mine are not fancy at all. They are very basic, but the YouTube videos will walk you through that. It's just so long that there's no point for me doing it. Yeah.
There is actually a template too, that you can get off of the CreateSpace website.
Exactly, yes. So there's also, so if you go in there and that's something else that you want to play around with, you can do that. They didn't used to have that, so I've just kind of gotten in the habit of doing it myself. So that's another option. If you want to log in and like play around and put your book in there and see what it spits out, if you're like, I don't like this, then you can try out doing it yourself.
There's a Word one you can download too. So if you're using Word, you can actually just drop it right in the Word template. It's got everything set up.
There you go.
You don't have to fiddle with it.
Perfect. All right.
So when you're doing the actual download electronically or KDP, and you're using a PDF, Word, is there a formatting? Can you use CreateSpace to format it for the electronic version?
No, you don't.
So-
No, it's going to be a separate file altogether.
Okay, so, right, I know it would
Right.
be separate files, but is there a formatting system that you would use if you were using a PDF? Or is it that you have to put it in there and kind of play with it to see how it will format to what the customer is reading?
For like the Kindle version, or like if they're getting
On the
Kindle.
Kindle version.
Well, that's what I use Vellum for, because I like seeing, like I showed that.
Right, but if I didn't want to use Vellum.
Well,
what if I
yeah,
just-
and it's, okay, so when you upload to Amazon KDP, say you're just giving them a PDF, like you're just like, I did the PDF. I wish I had shown you this, I could have shown you this. After you have uploaded it and said, here's my book copy and here's my cover, it will actually show you what it will look like on a Kindle. Kind of,
Oh, okay.
very similar to Vellum.
Okay.
Very similar to what I showed you on Vellum. It will actually have, and then you can switch it and say, like I want to do, the Paperwhite version of Katie, show me what that looks like.
Okay.
And if you're looking at that going, that doesn't look right, then stop, go back and try again. But for the most part, it won't even let you upload if it's like these dimensions aren't correct.
Okay.
But I've never had a problem with that other than, because before I used Vellum, I did just, I literally just used a Word document, and it kind of, it does the same thing that you
Does, and you can
Yeah.
see it.
Exactly. It was
Okay, got it.
really just
Okay.
very simple Word document. I just saved it as a PDF. I had no bells and whistles whatsoever. It was just typed up. I uploaded it. It was not pretty. It was basic, but it worked, and it was totally fine. And readers did not know that I didn't have this professionally formatted by any chance.
Okay.
But it will show you before you send it out to the world at large, and it will, you can see, and if you're like, it doesn't look right or something, then you can stop at that process. It's not going to put it out there without your saying publish, and then you can go back and kind of change a couple things.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay. So you can either use the format, or you can create your own in Word. Again, you will save it as a PDF for CreateSpace. You will also need a print cover for your book. Obviously, not just a little picture. It's going to be the picture and then the binding and then the back cover copy as well. Your cover artist will need to know how many pages your book is, so you have to format it before you give it to them, because that will change how wide the binding is. And that, again, is just going to be a PDF file that they will give you. That will cost extra. It's not like you said, well, I got my digital copy, so you're just going to throw it in here, right? They will charge you extra for that. But if you've already used, paid for the extras, the images that they used in the print or in the digital copy, that's already done, again. So you'll just pay for a little extra time. And then you're gonna upload to CreateSpace, and then you can link it to Amazon. It will give you that option. And it's actually pretty user-friendly as far as, you've put the book in there, you've created the book, and then it says, do you want to link this to your Amazon book page? And then you can click yes, and then it'll go from there. So it's relatively easy. You can kind of follow it along from there. Does anybody have any questions about that? It's really hard to do without actually doing it in front of you. But I did this at midnight, so.
Both electronically and on print, do they give you resolutions and font sizes, or do you have to kind of figure that out on your own?
The font size is up to you. I mean, obviously, your standard 10 to, anything from 11 to 12 to 13 is usually pretty basic, unless it's something like, the chapter heading or something like that.
Right.
That's pretty basic. Resolution, I believe, is they want it at least 300. If that's, I think it's 300. And again, any decent graphic artist worth their salt is never going to give you anything less than 300 resolution. So that's,
Yeah, I've seen some stuff.
exactly, which means that they probably were not quite sure what they were doing, or it was a DIY job and they're not really graphic artists. So, exactly. So, you should, at the end of the day, maybe you don't like it, but you shouldn't be able to tell quality-wise the difference as far as blurriness or sharpness between, the self-publishing. If you were hiring somebody who knows what they're doing, that's kind of the end of the day. From here, if this is all you want, this is literally, I just want to hold the book. I don't care if anybody else in Germany or, in San Francisco sees my book. I just want this. Skip the digital part, go straight here. Just do, the formatting and the editing for it. Get a cover, just a print cover, and then you don't even have to link it to an Amazon account or anything. You can just create the book. It will scan it for you and say yes, this is correct, or no, here's a couple of issues. If you were to print it today, this isn't right. Here's where you can go back and fix it. And then you can just leave it there and say, I'd like to order 20 copies. And that's it. And they ship them to you. You pay for them, they ship it to you, and then it's done. And it's no one else in the world knows that you did this, but you and whoever you gift those to. I run a writing club through the 2 junior highs here. Obviously, I'm not putting those kids' books out on Amazon because we don't want the world to see their names and their images and all their things, but their parents want those books. And so I create them, I skip the digital copy, nothing about that. I only format them for CreateSpace, in an anthology, because they're short stories. I put them together. I have a graphic artist who cuts me an amazing deal, thank God, because it's a work of love, not the thing I'm getting rich off of. And then I just order the books. The parents tell me how many books they want. I order the books, and they pay me cash, and it's done. And nobody else in the world has any idea that I've done this. And that's if that's all you want, you just want to do this, create the books, have it on your bookshelf, and move on from life, you can do that without anyone else knowing. So this is where you would start. Otherwise, if you want everybody to know and you want to try and make this a business, start digital and then move into print from there because you can connect it that way. Okay, expenses. How much? So there are two ways how much works. How much are you putting out, and then how much are you getting back in? The cost is obviously going to be extremely varied. It is going to vary everything from how much work you want to put into it, how much work you want to farm out to freelancers. How long your book is will cost you more, obviously. Like I said, editing is the number one thing that I pay for. It is, I would say, 3/4 of my expenses when it comes to this process. And that changes based on how long my books are. So the shorter the book, obviously, the less money you're paying out. Likewise, the longer the book, the more you're paying out. Covers are a flat fee. Formatting is typically a flat fee unless you're asking them to do like a 7,000-page novel of dubiousness. Uploading is obviously free. Any other costs after those things are either like maintenance or marketing or non-essentials. So, and again, covers and formatting, if you can do them yourselves, that's great. If you can't, pay for it. Editing, I highly recommend you at least have a professional editor do one pass. If nothing else, save up and do one pass. That would be my suggestion. If you are trying to save money, maybe not, just have more eyes on it, and then go back later and change things if you can. All right, how much the payoff? This is going to vary wildly. I cannot make you any promises. I said 30%, but I meant 35%. Okay, if you set your book price between 99 cents and $2.98, then you're going to earn 35%, not 30, sorry, on the cover price and royalties. With all retailers, if you set it at $2.99 and up, and I think most of them cap off at like either $9.99 or $14.99, I can't remember what. It might be $14.99 now. You will earn 70% of the cover price and royalties. And again, the third-party uploaders like Draft Digital, but there are others out there. This is just the one that I know of. Will take a tiny cut off the top. They're not going to charge you to upload, but they will just, for every book you sell, they'll take that little slice off out of that. So you're not paying up front, they're going to be taking once you actually have sold. So, and nobody can calculate how many books you will sell unless this is not your first rodeo. I kind of have a decent idea to a certain degree where I'm going to be for each book, and then I hope to gain a little bit more each time. But I can kind of, at this point, see, okay, I know where my base is at this point. I know how much it would be smart to put into a book, and how much would be stupid to put into a book. Because if I know I'm going to sell 300 copies, why would I spend more than that creating a book to begin with? So let's see here, the timeline. And again, this is probably more relevant only if you are doing this or hoping to do this as a business or a career. You don't want to waste time waiting on other vendors because obviously you can't just hand them the book to be edited, a 300-page book, and then expect to get it back in 48 hours. That's not going to be a good job. I'll just tell you that right now. If you don't want to make this a career, this is a one-time thing, or you're just having fun, you can zone out for a couple minutes. I'll get your notes back in a minute. So, let's see here. Okay, so as I'm finishing up my first draft, that very first draft, I'm talking to my beta readers. Are you going to be available starting next week to read this? I need to, I'd like to get it back, You don't want them to take 2 months to read the book, because if they're taking 2 months to read the book, they're going to forget, just like you forgot while you were writing it, that, so-and-so said something in chapter 1 that contradicted her in chapter 7. You want them to read this like a normal book in 3 to 4 days. You kind of want it to be fresh the whole time they're reading it. While they are beta reading, I am scheduling my editors because I know to a degree how long it's going to take me to make those changes from my beta readers. I've done this 19 times. I know I planned at this point. If you're doing this first off, again, slow down. So and I kind of have that. So I'm ready to go as soon as my beta readers get it back to me, and I'm ready to ship it off to editor number 1. They will block out as a week or two for you. If they are professionals, they know what they're doing. They know their schedule as well. They know how long it takes them to edit 300 pages, 400 pages, 500 pages. They will block out time for you. Do not miss that timeline because they will not take you back. So while the book is at the editors, I'm contacting my graphic artists and I'm working with them on what my vision is for the book cover. The book cover can be done at any point, but why would I waste my time if I'm not sure the book will ever actually make it to the, if I'm gonna stop halfway through and go, this book's not working, I'm gonna start over. So I don't usually contact my graphic artist until I'm to the edits portion. Once I get the developmental edits back, I have a good idea of my release date, because from after the developmental edits, and again, remember, those are those like big plot points, those are those big holes, those are the things that may require a chapter rewrite. After that, it's kind of downhill slide with the line edits, that's just grammar, and the galley edits is just like typos. I know from here when I can release my book. Then I will set up my pre-order. I do not recommend this for newbies, because if you miss your pre-order date on both Amazon and Draft to Digital, they will delete your account. Not good. So, actually that's not true. The first time they will take away your pre-orders, and then the second time they will delete your account. So, just don't worry about that if you're a newbie. While the book is at the various different editors, I'm working on my marketing material. That is anything from updating my website to show that I've got a book coming up, updating social media, writing the back cover copy, that blurb that I'm going to put in my form when I'm uploading. All of those things are being written. Those are my marketing things. Looking for ads, looking for book club blasts. When I receive my edits, after that's done, then I have to format the book. I obviously cannot format it until the book is done. And then I upload it to my vendors, and then I sit back and I watch the magic. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
You may have said it before I came in. So, like, if you're not formatting until after it's been edited, what form do you send it to your beta readers and your editors in?
Word or PDF, depending on what they want. Obviously, my editors need it in Word, but beta readers, if they're just going to read it on their phone or something, I usually just send it as a PDF. And that'll bring it up. And again, the formatting in a beta might be wonky. And I tell my beta readers, ignore typos. Ignore little stuff. If I wrote like insert it's the last name here because I haven't picked it yet. Ignore that because that's like teeny tiny stuff. My beta readers are my friends and my fellow writers who are going to tell me like major plot point here that we've screwed up. We've taken a left turn and you needed to go straight. So, if the formatting's off or I have a weird, tab here or something like that, doesn't matter. I'll fix that in formatting. So again, either a PDF or a Word, depending on what they want, is usually sufficient for that. Okay, beware. Companies that will make you big promises. You can go to a company and they will do a lot of the work for you. They will give you a cover. They will do the formatting. They will do editing for you. And you are paying for that privilege. They will try to make it sound as if you are being published. You are not being published, you are self-published, and that is fine. That is completely fine, but they will woo you with these big promises of how you are now a published author of, amazingness, and you are going to be a bestseller, and we know that we are going to get you on a list, and you are going to sell 4,000 copies in your release week. These companies cannot make you those promises. I write for a big 5 publisher, and they are not making me these promises, and they've been doing this a lot longer and a lot better than these companies. And I'm talking about companies like Publish America is the #1 scam that I know. They constantly change their name. I have no idea what they are under now, but if you Google Publish America, scam, it will bring up exactly what they are calling themselves today. It is a big time scam. They've been around for a long time. They have been ripping people off. They will charge you thousands of dollars and then make you buy your books at like $15 a pop for nothing. I mean, you're getting nothing out of that, I pay good money for my editors. I pay good money for mine, and I'm telling you right now, I'm doing this for less than $1,000 a book. So if you're paying a company $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000, you're being ripped off. You are. There are some companies that will do this and will work with you, and they've got everybody in-house, and they will do it for the right price. And you just have to do your homework. And there are dozens of them. Everybody is kind of they're like little mom and pops. I can't tell you every single one of them because there's just too many of them, but you just do your research. Stay away from anything that looks like it might have been Publish America at one point, though. I promise you, you will not like the results. Freelancers that will take your money and then ghost on you, like a guy from Tinder. You do not want these people. That's when you're going to see who have they worked with in the past and did they actually get results from them, or did they take their money and run? If they have never worked with another author before, you probably don't want to start there because you want somebody who has experience. If you have no experience, you want somebody who does. They will walk you through the process if necessary. So just watch out for those guys as well. Okay, so what's next? You've written the book, you've uploaded it to Kindle, you've uploaded it to Barnes & Noble and iBooks and Kobo, and it's out there. What do you do? Well, you market for the book that you've got out there. You start looking for reviews. You look, I wrote, I don't know, like a horror story a la Stephen King. And, so I'm going to go on to maybe Goodreads and start finding readers who might give me reviews because you want reviews on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble and on iBooks so that readers know, like, okay, this is actually a quality book. It's not just like something out there. You want reviews. So maybe you go on Goodreads and find people who like books similar to yours and you email them, hey, I'm a new author, I've written a book. Would you be willing to read my book and give me an honest review? Always honest. You always want an honest review in exchange for me giving you the copy of the book for free. You can just send them a PDF or you can send them some version of the book that they prefer to have. That is one thing. You want to make sure that your social media, if you're, again, this is a career situation here, not like I'm doing this for fun. Social media is up to date. Your website reflects that the book is now live and has all of your buy links on there. Playing with price, if that is something that you eventually want to do. Like I said, I would keep that static for a little while you figure out what you're doing. After that, you can maybe consider, discounting in order to do a quick blast. Otherwise, I would leave it alone. But the number one best marketing tool in any writer's bag of tricks is writing the next book. Because the more books you have out there, the more funnels you have to bring them to your backlist. And backlist is king if you're making this a career. You will 99.9993% never get to a career from one book. It is then the next book, and then the next book, and then the next book. And then a brand new reader finds you because you put out book 7, and they're like, oh my gosh, she has 6 other books, I have to go find them. And then you see she bought 6 books in a row because she wanted to go through and binge all of your books. It's like finding a new show on Netflix and you can't stop. They find your 12th book and they're like, oh, thank goodness she's got other stuff, I can do that. And she reads through your whole backlist and it happens over and over again. And then she'll buy books 13 and on, but the more funnels and the more places that your books are, the more places that readers can find you. So backlist is king. So if you cannot think of any questions, you can always email me. I do my best to respond to them. It has been a really crazy semester at school, so I have been terrible at checking my email, but I always try. Does anybody have any questions right now? Yeah?
Do you need an ISBN numbers for your books, or how does that work?
I do buy an ISBN. Technically, you do not for digital copies. You can get one through Kindle. If you do not have an ISBN, Kindle will assign one to you. I use Bowker. BAWKER, and I just buy them in chunks of 10 so that my books always have the same ISBN no matter where I'm at. Again, that's a thing for me because of my previous, would I worry about that if I was a first-time author? Probably not. CreateSpace will also give you an ISBN if you are uploading, because print and digital require different ISBNs. So CreateSpace would give you one for that if you need it.
So you don't have the same one for digital copies?
Correct.
So what was that, the Bowker, what?
Bowker, BAWKER, I might be spelling that wrong, but yes. And so, you can buy
And
this one.
this is for the digital copies?
Yes. Again, I, don't necessarily need them. That is just a personal thing for me.
Is
That
copyrighted as well? Because I know it's a little separate, isn't it?
Well, that's separate, yes.
Yeah.
But if I ever did have a copyright issue, the fact that my book had the same ISBN would be in my favor for that process. I don't copyright, go through the whole process of literally trademarking and copywriting, because the fact is, I created it, it's mine. The minute I put it out there, it's mine. And so if anybody wants to pirate it, they don't have a leg to stand on, because the very first place you can trace it back to, everything's digital, everything is traceable at this point. They can see that mine came first. And so at the end of the day, I don't go through a whole process of literally copywriting and paying a lawyer to do that for me. So that's a good question though.
Well, I'm sorry, I have to cut, okay, one last question.
Yeah.
Do you run your book through any editing software first before you send it to an editor, like Pro Writing Aid or AutoCrit or any of those?
No. I write a pretty clean copy, and I edit normally on Word. I literally do everything in Word, and then I just send it off, and then that's it. So they get what they get. No.
I hate to do it, but we have another meeting in here. The O'Fallon Writing Group is going to meet in here in a minute.